Hi, everyone. Welcome to 5 Questions with DS. I'm pleased to welcome Ross Guberman in today's episode. So first, a round of introduction. He's president of one of the world's leading legal writing training companies. He's consultant for many of the most prominent law firms and courts. He's trainer for all new federal judges, creator of first-of-its-kind editing plugin, briefcatch.com. I am pleased to welcome Ross Guberman.
Well, thank you so much. Happy to be here.
The legal world often struggles with clear and concise communication. In your experience training judges, law firms, and legal professionals, what are some of the biggest roadblocks to effective legal writing?
Yeah, it's really been a huge problem across English-speaking jurisdictions around the world and frankly for centuries. Generally saying, hey, you write like a lawyer is not a compliment, and it's not always easy to figure out why. So I'd say there are really two main causes if you really try to diagnose the problem. So the first is probably a function of the common law itself and the sort of archaic, Britishisms that have continued to seep into even modern legal prose, making what people identify with legal writing often be something quite legalistic, pretentious, old-fashioned, and even archaic. So what happens sometimes is even in modern day law school, just from reading opinions and judgments, a lot of law students intuit that that kind of haughty style is the way to go, which is probably the wrong direction. But the other, probably bigger, more important cause cannot be blamed on history. We have to look inside ourselves in this profession. So the way I would describe it is often there's a disconnect between thinking and typing. And what happens is very often if you have exceptional verbal skills, as most lawyers do by definition, if you haven't really figured out exactly what you want to say and why what you're saying is credible, you'll just sort of get yourself caught up in a word salad. And it really is masking a lack at the thinking level that just seems like poor writing. So that's probably cause number two. And that, by the way, that's not just true for entire documents. That's even true for individual sentences. Very often a convoluted sentence reflects some kind of convoluted thinking.
So how can legal professionals leverage technology to improve their writing efficiency and accuracy?
Legal technology is a sort of provocative topic these days, right? There's some anxiety over it, also excitement. But given that I'm in the thick of things, I would say there are two really great use cases for tech for our profession. So the first would be something that I spend a lot of my time doing, and that is using technology to look at really superior, standout, effective legal and judicial writing and try to figure out what those lawyers and judges actually do at the word level, sentence level, paragraph level, and even rhetorically and logically. So you can actually use a lot of these tools, including very famous ChatGPT, to draw some inferences about what really makes for great legal writing. Now, the average lawyer or judge has no time to do that. So that's kind of my job, where I spend a huge amount of time machine learning techniques, natural language processing techniques to figure all that out. And that brings me to my second use case. So there are plenty of tools on the market. Briefcatch is certainly one of them that take those kinds of insights. And you really do want to make sure, by the way, if you're going to use technology as a lawyer, you want to make sure a lawyer is behind the technology because we have special requirements, right? So my product, Briefcatch, and others like it, take those kinds of insights I was just describing and really automate the process. So as you're struggling through your day and trying to do your best writing despite all the pressures, Briefcatch will flag various words and phrases and give you suggestions for just being more precise, more concise, clearer, and more consistent. And these are all things people need in an era where there's enormous time pressure on lawyers to get their work product done in a timely way and not just effectively.
I see. And if I'm not wrong, your background includes journalism and public speaking. So I wanted to touch a little bit on that too. How can lawyers incorporate storytelling and persuasive writing techniques into their legal documents to achieve a stronger impact?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm kind of prototypical American lawyer in the sense that I have a law degree, but I haven't actually spent that much of my career practicing law. So I did practice law for a few years, but then I did a bunch of other things. And one of them was, as you say, work as an investigative journalist, doing kind of heavy duty stories like business, financial, legal investigations. And that really showed me how you can take very dense, dry, often quantitative material and turn it into some sort of narrative line, which is something you'll notice the very best legal writers can do as well. So they're able to take, let's say something like, it seems very dry, like a contract. I always think about our Chief Justice, John Roberts, who said, even a contract dispute, if you really know how to write, is a story. Like, why do people have contracts? So they have mutual goals. They think there's some sort of mutual benefit. They have, hopes and dreams. They write the contract. Everything seems great until one day they wake up and all of a sudden there's some sort of impasse, right? Then one side says breach, one side says I've been harmed, and you're trying to get them back to their original state. So there are ways to incorporate storytelling without being hokey or cheesy, right? So sometimes I see people take this too far. They represent a huge multinational corporation and they try to make it seem, like a character in a children's book that's lovable, like Winnie the Pooh or something. That's absurd, right? Nobody's actually saying you should use storytelling the way you would in fiction. It's more like you're trying to take the facts and the law and sort of fit them into a narrative form that really matches the way people actually think and absorb information.
I see. That's a very useful tip. And one more tip that I wanted to, ask you for the benefit of our audience was on social media. You have achieved success in both traditional and online platforms. Just to remind the audience, you've received the Golden Pen Award and ABA's Best Law Twitter. So what advice can you offer legal professionals who want to leverage social media to build their personal brand without compromising professionalism?
And that last point you made is so important. I think it's what really inhibits a lot of lawyers, rightfully so, from really, being themselves on social media. So what I would say is, again, I would first acknowledge the problem, right? When you are a lawyer, you do have special duties, not just duties to clients and confidentiality, but you want to have a certain persona. You want to seem serious. And obviously many people on social media seem nothing of the sort, which I get. So what I've done, and you mentioned my Twitter, or I guess now it's called X feed, is I certainly don't reveal confidential information. I don't even have clients, but there are certain things I don't talk about at all. But in exchange for that, I really try to show personality and passion when I'm talking about my subject matter, which is generally broadly construed legal writing, legal tech, judges, courts. And I think I'm appropriately concerned about what I say. Things can be taken out of context, but I actually really do try to seem like a real person. And one thing I've noticed with a lot of lawyers, especially law firms and social media, is they somehow confuse the duty to not reveal confidences with some sort of manufactured duty to seem like an automaton with no personality or views on anything, right? And trying to find the sweet spot is the way to go. If you have a really sterile social media presence, first of all, people will think, true or not, that you're not even writing your posts, that they're made by ChatGPT. But second, you're sort of depriving yourself of all the benefits of social media, so it's almost not even worth it. So yeah, I'd say show a little personality until someone tells you you've gone too far. That's not a criticism you're going to hear about most lawyers, right? I wouldn't worry too much about being too passionate in this profession.
Absolutely. That's a very good tip. I'm coming towards the last question. This one is a little futuristic. Are there tech trends out there that you see impacting legal writing in the future?
Well, we're sort of living through a revolution, and I think a lot of lawyers are in denial because they cling to these anecdotal accounts of hallucinated case law and judges being mad, and they're sort of ignoring everything exciting that's going on really right now, not to mention, as you say, in the future. So one thing I would keep an eye out for is the actual generation of legal documents and judicial opinions. So right now, there are products out there that will give you a serviceable complaint or claim, or even a serviceable motion. I would say a serviceable contract, even a fairly sophisticated commercial agreement, you can get a pretty good contract, frankly, just out of ChatGPT. You don't even need to buy a product. But what we don't have yet, but what I think is going to come soon, and I plan to be a part of it, is not just having a serviceable functional document, but really gleaning insights from a lot of the great documents out there. Of course, you need someone to know which is which, so that you're actually taking the best of legal writing and integrating it into a new document that allows you to, of course, tailor it to your own particular client's needs. But you're actually starting with a pretty darn good draft. Now, that's exciting, but probably if you're a lawyer, a little bit scary, because if that actually comes to pass, people are going to have, these clients are probably going to have a lot less tolerance for getting bills from law firms for 100 hours for a simple motion.
I see. No, we're approaching a revolution. Maybe we are in the middle of one that we will only realize in hindsight. So thank you so much for these wonderful, great insights.
Thanks. It was a pleasure talking to you. And I'll say hello and goodbye to India. Thanks for listening.